Today we're going to be making the Indian cauliflower and cabbage recipe from Frandy, and we're going to go over the ingredients first. What we have here is we have the cauliflower and the cabbage. We have the coconut milk, coconut oil, salt, turmeric, Indian curry. This is the coconut oil that I like to use. The coconut milk, this isn't the normal brand. Oops! Oh my goodness gracious. This is not the normal brand that I use, but it works out pretty good. But as long as it's organic, full fat coconut milk. And you would think you would get it in like a jug, but nope. And I do want to point out, if you've never worked with coconut milk before, it is a mixture of liquid and thick coconut elements, but it's all pretty creamy, so there's no shreds of coconut in it, but it is a mixture. So when you first open up the can, it looks like it's solid, but underneath the solid there is a mixture. So what we're actually going to do first is we are going to cut up our cauliflower and our cabbage. Both of them have been rinsed and ready to go, and then we're going to be working in this frying pan. So first, let's go ahead and I'm going to move the bowl aside. That's where we'll put our finished cut cauliflower. And as you know, cauliflower comes with this stem in the middle, so what I just do is I just do an angle cut in there to kind of get as much of that out as possible. If you want the actual recipe of the quantity of ingredients, you can look to Frandy, and there'll be a link to her website. This is part of her fast, and I have my trash can down here, so it's perfect placement for that. Alright, just going to break apart what I can first. Yeah, I was surprised when Frandy showed me this recipe how nutritious cauliflower actually can be. At this point I can't remember all the points, but I was surprised because I thought that cauliflower didn't have much in the way of nutrition. So I'm just going to cut it down into smaller pieces and drop it in our bowl. So let's do that. These little pieces that I cut off, I actually put in my juice, so none of the vegetable goes to waste. That's fine. This piece is a little big. Cabbage. And the only reason I cut it up is just so it's easier to deal with in the frying pan. That's it. The sizes look good. So I would say whatever you think is a comfortable size for broccoli, if you do broccoli, would probably be how you cut the cauliflower. So there's our bowl of cauliflower. I'm going to push this aside just so I can have it for my juice later. And I have rinsed the cabbage, but of course we always like to pull for a few of the outer leaves off if they look a little challenged. And we have our internal stem that needs to come out. This, awesome for juicing. And I'm going to cut the cabbage up into fairly large pieces because I don't want it to cook down too fast in the cooking. Okay, so I'm just going to put that in our bowl. Okay, I am ready to get started cooking, and that's done. The first thing that we want to do over here, let me move my ingredients out of the way, is put our coconut oil in. This is a type of oil that actually is 100% cholesterol free. A couple times, and both times Frandy has cooked it for me, and it's been awesome. And today I'm just going to present the recipe as it's presented by Frandy, but you can serve it on top of quinoa. Even pasta would be good. Straight would be awesome. It's just a very nutritious meal, and I'll see how quickly the oil is starting to move around. Let me get something to stir this around with. My utensil drawer right there. So it's melting pretty quickly. Okay, so we have completely melted the oil. I'm going to turn the temperature down to about 5 on my stove, which I have a glass top stove. And I'm going to put in, but be careful because the oil is warm, the cauliflower and cabbage into the pan. Bigger pan, better. This pan, a little tough. But you just want to work gently with it and just let it cook down. It will let go of some of its moisture. In the meantime, let's go ahead and work on mixing together all of the ingredients that are going to go on top of the cauliflower. So first we have our coconut milk. Let me get a larger bowl. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and mix together our other ingredients. So this is the bowl that had the cauliflower in it. This is the coconut milk. Get all the goodies out. And we want to mix in our ingredients. Okay, so now we're going to mix all the liquid and spices together. First I'm going to whisk the coconut oil just to make it an even consistency, to kind of blend in those thicker pieces. The next thing I'm going to add is the turmeric, and then the curry, and then salt to taste. Of course, we're not going to put all this salt in, but let's just put a couple pinches in, because you can always salt later. Let's jump over here and stir our cauliflower a little bit. You don't want it to get stuck to the bottom. Plus, we want to stir it around the best we can to kind of share some of that coconut oil. I have fallen in love with coconut oil. Coconut, period. I use coconut oil in my cooking. I drink coconut water to rehydrate myself whenever possible, and on this fast I've been doing it quite a bit. It's been great. Okay, so it looks like we have it's starting to soften up a little bit, especially the cabbage is really starting to soften up. Okay, so back to our ingredients. We had added our turmeric, our Indian powder, our salt to taste, coconut milk, and we're going to whisk this together. And really, the reason you're doing this is to make sure all the goodness gets spread throughout all the ingredients in the frying pan. So when I tell my friends, and my mom tells her friends that sorry if the camera's shaking, it actually is around my neck to help you see well. So sorry about that if you guys get seasick. But when people find out that I cook a lot with coconut oil, since I've met Frandy, that's really when I did the switch. I hear a lot of, well, it's high in cholesterol and you shouldn't eat that, and I'm not going to answer that question for you on the video, but I do challenge you should just go out and Google it or call Brandy and ask her about it, because you know, our bodies do need oil. This is an awesome nutritionist oil. It cooks great on high heat. But I'm going to challenge you to do your own research and see what you think. I'm going to add a small pinch of salt to the cauliflower, very tiny, because salt sometimes helps break down and pull more of the liquid out of these hard vegetables. It's a good tip for onions, or not necessarily for cabbage. Cabbage breaks down pretty well and pretty quickly. But on this recipe, we want our cauliflower to be fairly soft. So I am going to pause the recording for a bit, let this cook down some more. Then we'll add our mixture to this, let it cook down a little bit more, and we'll be done. So I will be back in a moment. Okay everyone, so when I came back from our last break, I looked at the recipe and it did say to cook the cauliflower for 5 minutes and then put the mixture in. I thought I was on record. I wasn't, so I came back and I poured the mixture in, stirred it around. Sorry guys, I wanted to show you everything, but all I did was just pour the mixture in here, stir it up a bit, and now we're going to let it sit covered until the cauliflower is soft. There you go. Next time I have to make sure I push record. Okay, thank you. See you back in a minute. Alright, I'm going to do a check-in, see how we're doing. Woo. The cauliflower soft? Not yet. It's going to take a little bit longer. You may actually find that as you're softening the cauliflower, you steam away all of this coconut milk. And if that happens and the cauliflower is not done enough, then Brandy recommends just adding a little bit of water. You don't want to burn at this point, but okay. And we'll be back in a bit to see how we are doing in a few minutes. Okay, so I'm just recording a little bit so you can kind of see how it's bubbling away. I moved the temperature down a little bit to almost 4 because I didn't want it to burn, because coconut oil or coconut milk does have some natural sugar in it which can help things burn. So here we go, we're just going to let it boil away and I'll check back in a minute. Okay, we're going to check back. I haven't done a really good job of timing this for you, but I just stay near my stove while things are cooking. So I'm stirring it up a bit. The curry sauce is getting a little bit darker, and that's because we are steaming off some of the liquid from the coconut milk. See how little liquid we have left? The next step is, and the cauliflower is nice and soft, it's allowing me to cut through it with my soft spoon. We want to have it cook without a cover for a couple minutes, just so the last little bit of unnecessary moisture works its way out and it starts to thicken up a little bit. So we're gonna let that happen and we'll be back. Okay, so we've been sitting without the lid on for about 2 to 3 minutes. See how we can pull the items away from the bottom of the pan and it takes a little bit for it to fill back in. That looks just about right. These were nice and thick. So I think we are done. Let's plate it and see how it looks. I'm going to plate right over here. And as you can imagine, this is going to be my lunch. So what I do next when I am cooking a recipe for some friends and such and trying it out. I then finish up by taking a really nice photograph of it. So now I'm looking for a really nice piece of broccoli to put on top and sprinkle with a little something green. It just, it adds a little spark. All right, there you go, guys. Enjoy.